It was developed at Cornell University by Alan Lakso and Terrence Robinson. It was developed for Empire at a moderate vigor, a moderate crop load at Geneva, and has not been validated on any other variety, anyplace else. They wanted to get that accomplished before they released it to various fruit districts to use, but they have not got funding for it, and they didn't get funding again. So now they're in a dilemma. They still have not given me permission to have Michigan State put it on EnviroWeather, but that's the request I have into them. I gave them that request, and they said they'd get back to me on that. I'm hoping that they will put it on EnviroWeather so that you can watch it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anytime at your convenience, and interpret the data yourself for the weather station closest to you. Apples are a living organism. They need energy, carbohydrates, in order to set. They compete with the leaves for energy, and if there's the theory goes, if there's a deficit of energy, the fruitlets will drop. If there's a surplus of energy, the fruitlets will not drop, and they will resist thinning. So to make the whole story, a long story short, the carbohydrate model gives you this output that you see here on your handout in the first graph. And I'm not going to talk too much about that. I'm just going to tell you that what we're trying to do is simplify the model, in that if you look at the bottom of your chart, you'll see all these arrows along the bottom. What we're trying to do is, I guess, like a security system here in the U.S., we're trying to tell you whether or not this is a good thinning day, an excessive thinning day, a day that you'll underthin, or a day that you'll get maybe normal thinning response. So on the bottom here, if you happen to thin on May 21st, we have an orange arrow, we're indicating that you'll get moderate thinning response. If you have a red arrow for May 27th, we think you'll get an excessive or an aggressive thinning response. And if you have a green arrow, you'll get maybe a normal response. And if you get a blue arrow, you'll get an under-thinning response. So basically, that's what we're trying to do, simplify it down to 4 categories. And you can look at that. And if you look at that now, you'll see that during the 10 millimeter stage, between these 2 red arrows, we've had mostly normal thinning response. That's not what the forecast was for them. The forecast predicted red arrows for that time period. And it was hot. It was 95 degrees, but what the actual temperature was and the actual conditions turned out to be were just normal or moderate thinning. They were not as severe as our forecast. That's the weakness in this whole system, is our forecast. So this is what the model would predict, and we have thinned at the Clarksville station. We have thinned every 3 days right through this entire period, and we will look at how our thinning compared to what we predicted once we harvest the fruit and get the data.